you're moving to Mississauga and you're wondering, well, where are all those exclusive spots? In today's video, actually, I'm going to talk about the 3 most expensive areas in Mississauga and really, what does it have to offer? Is there a lifestyle? Is it accessible? Why are people moving there? And really, if your pocketbook can afford it, are those the areas where you want to settle in? So without further ado, let's get started, jump right in and figure out if any of these 3 areas match your criteria of moving to one of the exclusive spots in Mississauga. Let's go. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nasira Jamal and I'm a local realtor right here in the Greater Toronto area with the Canada Realty Group. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn everything there is to know about living, working, playing, eating, sleeping, and what are some of the most expensive, exclusive areas in the GTA, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn your notification on so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Honestly, I get calls every day from people who are moving here, relocating here, and I absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about moving here or relocating here, maybe you're just coming to check it out, make sure you give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. You can even send that pigeon carrier. However you want to get a hold of me, I've got your back when you're moving into the Greater Toronto area. The first area is Lorne Park. So really, what makes Lorne Park so exclusive? Well, in this area, what you're going to find is it has large, very large and spacious lots, large and sort of full-grown trees. It's a very quiet neighborhood. There's a real nice vibe to it. You're going to find a lot of custom builds here, you know, homes that are mega mansions, as I mentioned, but large from the lot size to the square footage, you know, 4 or 5 bedrooms. Some of them, you know, they have built-in nanny suites. It is quite an exclusive area, and really what makes one of the highlights for this area is you can drive or walk to the 3 waterfront villages that are nearby: Clarkson, Lakeview, and Port Credit. So people that live in this area use these facilities and go to these areas. And again, because of its proximity, it makes it really easy for people to go and enjoy the other waterfront areas. This area doesn't really have a lot of parks, but if you look at the aerial view of all of the homes, especially off Spring Hill Drive, who needs a park when you have that as your backyard? Lots of green space. Because the lots are so large, what you find is that the trees have filled in and you basically live in your own little oasis. At least that's what I think. So there is definitely a really nice vibe here. It's very much community based, like everybody really feels like they're part of this community of Lorne Park. There's Lorne Park Estates, which you know, have multi-million-dollar custom built homes, which are gorgeous. And really, if this is an area that you are considering moving, it's a nice spot to check out. If it's not the Lorne Park Estates area, just even around Lorne Park, there are lots of options in terms of finding a home that meets your lifestyle and your pocketbook. And this area actually also is very commuter friendly. So if you're working Toronto, you've got, you know, the GO stations close by that you can access. There's Port Credit GO station or Clarkson. And it also, you have access to the QEW and Highway 403. So again, you know, if you're driving, you still have access to highways, and it's actually really, really close. So you're not going to, you know, find that as a difficult thing to adjust to, because you've got accessibility, and there's a lot of people here using their vehicles to get around. But again, being in a community like this means that you have not only all of the other neighboring, as they call them, villages, but you also have the highway accessibility, which is of course important when you live in a big city. To get in and out, you want to make sure you're close to some sort of freeway or highway. So what about new development, you might be thinking? Well, there was a development that started in the 2000 called Watercolors. It's probably the newest and probably the last development to go into Lorne Park. There isn't a lot. However, if you're building a custom home, you may be able to find a lot or a property that needs to be torn down to be able to do that. But really, there are no new developments. And what you'll find here is, for most people, they really like that. They like the fact that it isn't growing, more so in terms of land space, that it is very exclusive and tight. The community here is very involved. There's a couple of different associations in the community that you can get involved in if you are choosing to live here. They really do get involved in terms of the politics of how to keep the community moving forward and bringing in, the different things that residents want to see in the community. So it is very tight-knit, and I have to say there's minimal economic diversity here. And what do I mean by that? Well, just in simple terms, you need a lot of money to live here, deep pockets, and it is very, very exclusive. But this is why it is one of the top exclusive areas in Mississauga, and the people that move here or choose to live here definitely know the value of the homes and of where they are in terms of location. That address will definitely fetch you a lot of money if you're looking at a resale. What's really nice about Lorne Park is it's walkable, into the different communities like Clarkson and Port Credit, and it is really one of those areas. And if you look at the map, you can see where Lorne Park is in relation to Port Credit, where the lake is, and it makes this area really popular amongst those who like to live near water and not necessarily right on the water, but at least they're very close and they have access to all of the beautiful surroundings that are 5-10 minutes away. But it again, for people that love that to be what they're going to have access to, it is part of their lifestyle, then this makes it a really good spot to settle in on. So if you're living in Lorne Park, you have access to some of the city's best schools. And of course, I always tell people, if you're looking at schools, depending on what your child's age is, if you're looking at elementary, you're looking at public or Catholic, private school, secondary schools, the best place to look at, sort of the ratings of the school is the Fraser report. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that out. But really, it has access to some of the best schools. And this, again, for families that are moving here, it makes it really an important decision as to the location. Like I mentioned, it is exclusive, it is expensive, but there are a lot of people that live here and they choose this area not just for the fact that it suffices their lifestyle, but it affords their family access to schools, access to transportation, access to a lot of the things that perhaps somebody might think that you have to travel further out for, but it's really located right within the area of Lorne Park. Before we jump into the next area, I'd like some help from you. Go ahead and click that like button if you are enjoying this video. For me, I love making these videos. I love telling people about the different areas in the Greater Toronto area. But what I love most is helping people when they get here make those decisions, and getting this video out to as many people as possible is going to help me do that. So let's go ahead and hit that like button, and I'm going to jump into the next area. The second most expensive area, expensive and exclusive, is called Mineola. Now, I love Mineola for many different reasons. I actually had a cousin who several years ago bought a house that they actually tore down and built their own custom home there. It was absolutely stunning, and I find that people that live here love doing that. So they like the idea of building custom homes, or they'll take a home that perhaps has been built but not to their specifications and do a lot of renovations. We're not just talking about, changing the color of the walls with paint. We're talking about major overhaul, bathrooms, kitchens, bedrooms, extensions. So it is a great area. It is an older section, and there are still a lot of homes that are available in terms of, if you're looking at doing that, creating your own custom home, tearing down a property, if that is something that's on your list, then Mineola is a really good spot to look at for doing just that. So Mineola actually is one of the ultimate neighborhoods for move-up buyers. and accessibility, the QEW, Lakeshore, City Center, which is Square One. Because of the accessibility, people really do draw to this area. Again, of course, you have to have deep pockets. It is an expensive area, but it is accessible to all the other areas as well. And what you'll find is really streets are just lined with multi-million-dollar homes. You'll still find that cottage-like feel here. I find that that's one of the charming things about Mineola, is that feel you get when you drive into it is, oh, this feels like you're on holidays. That's what I feel anyways. But it's a beautiful place with a lot of tree-lined streets. Again, because it's older, you will find that a lot of these trees are full grown. It's not like a new subdivision where, the trees have just been planted and they're, 3 feet tall. These are massive trees. So there's lots of green space, and makes this area really attractive and lush. So having said that, not all the homes are custom built. So you might be thinking, well, this is a little bit way out of my range. There are still pockets of smaller homes that need some work, or you could, some of them are still okay to live in and affordable from that perspective. If you're not really going to do a tear down, or you're not going to look at really doing major overhaul renovations, there are still pockets in Mineola that are affordable and still gets you into an area that will hold its land value. And perhaps later, either if you sell it or if you decide that you want to do the renovations or build or do something different later, you still have that, the peace of mind knowing that you're buying in an area that is doing extremely well, holding its land value. And a lot of people will buy, try and get into this area sort of at that place where they're not paying mega millions, but still get the address, get that Mineola address to be able to perhaps do some things later on, as life changes and more money, or you win the lottery. But to get that Mineola address, a lot of people are purchasing some of the smaller homes on those streets that are, again, a lot of bungalow style homes, smaller homes, but still you've got large lots, which again is a real highlight for moving into this area. So let's talk about schooling. I'm not going to get into the specifics here, but there are a couple of really good schools, Cannoli, Mineola Public School. If you look in the description, I'm going to put a link for how to find a school in the area. It is considered Peel District School Board, depending if you're a public school or Catholic school, but I'll put the link in the description. You can check out the Fraser report in terms of the school rating. But Mineola, of course, access to good schools. It's great for commuters as well. You've got access to Lakeshore, QEW, and really you're close to Lorne Park as well. So as you can see on the map, how far it is, it's only a couple of kilometers from Lorne Park, but you're not paying the higher pricing in terms of Lorne Park. Though it's still expensive, it's cheaper than Lorne Park, but you are just only a few kilometers away from it. One of the things for Mineola I just want to point out is really it doesn't have really access to any kind of big box stores. So if you're looking at like Costco or Best Buy or, things like that, you will travel outside of Mineola. But in most cases, when you're living in some of these smaller, let's call them villages, because that's what they are really termed as, you will travel outside, but it's not that far, 10-15 minutes, you'll be able to get into an area where you will have access to the big box stores. And the people that live in Mineola or even Lorne Park, they actually like it that there isn't that kind of vibe that are in these areas, and that you do have to travel outside of the pocket to be able to get to that. But, again, grocery stores and things like that, you will have to travel a little bit outside, but you still have access. It's not undoable. It's just that in some other areas in Mississauga, it's really right in your backyard, whereas here you're going to find that you're going to be traveling a little bit to get to those shopping areas, but that's just one of the charms of living in Mineola or Lorne Park. And the highlights of having a GO station. So again, for those commuters, it's great if you're looking at, if you're working in Toronto or you need to get onto that GO train. Accessibility is again a really key thing of why people move to any of these areas, and Mineola being one of them that has access to a GO station that's really close, Port Credit and Clarkson. Again, this is one of those things that people will ask me when they're coming into the area, what about transportation? And so it's a really easy answer because GO trains are almost at your doorstep. So my question to you would be, do you have the budget to afford either Lorne Park or Mineola? Because if you do, then these areas are worth checking out because they are absolutely gorgeous. So the third area is called Clarkson, and this area is quite a bit different than Lorne Park or Mineola. And one of the key differences is that it's abundance of parks and green space, as well as the proximity to the lake. People that live in this area love the fact that they have access to Rattray Marsh. This is a very beautiful green space area, great for the outdoor enthusiast. If you love hiking, walking, if you like bird watching, nature photography, you like being in nature, then this is going to be one of those spots you'll just fall in love with. The other thing about this area is its access to one of the most popular parks called Jack Darling Park, which has a splash pad, picnic areas, really nice place to take the family. The kids will love the area. And again, this is what sets Clarkson apart from the other areas because of the access to green space. The other areas, as I mentioned in Lorne Park, you will have greenery, but it'll be more in your streets, the tree-lined streets, and not so much access to parks. Whereas Clarkson, you have all of this. Plus, in terms of homes, there are some massive mega $1 million homes along the streets by Rattray Marsh. Now, this is particularly the area where you will find those detached homes, comparable pricing to Lorne Park. But if you want to get something affordable, it's still possible in Clarkson because there are predominantly in Clarkson lots of semi-detached backsplit homes. A lot of the other smaller areas or streets actually in Clarkson haven't yet been torn down with larger homes. So you still have access to getting a Clarkson address, getting a property. In this particular section, actually, what we have found is there's a lot of in-law suites, people building out basement apartments because the back splits tend to have a lot more square footage. They can do this, and there are a lot of homes here that do have that sort of secondary rental space. You can rest assured that you will be able to find homes in some of the other streets if you're not looking for the mega $1 million section that I talked about, which is, like I mentioned, Rattray Marsh. The streets around that area, you will find those large homes like Lorne Park. So all of the areas that we're talking about are older sections in Mississauga. And so for a lot of people that move here, they ask me, is there anything new that I can check out? So in Clarkson, there is a new development. It's in the Van Dyke building. It's called the Craftsman. And if you are looking for a condo living, this is one that I would highly recommend. It's located on Lakeshore at the east end of the village. Still great accessibility, great pricing. Doesn't have to break the bank. Of course, you're going to get smaller living space, but if you're looking for a condo style of living in Clarkson, then the Craftsman might be a really good spot. You get the address of Clarkson, you get to live near a GO train station, you get accessibility to the lakeshore, and all of the other beautiful things that all of these three areas offer. But in Clarkson, you're going to find sort of the only spot out of these three villages of something that's new. And I know for a lot of people, they want to go somewhere maybe where it's turnkey. They don't want to do a lot of renovations. They don't need a lot of space, but they still want to be in a really good neighborhood. Then I would really recommend that, you check out Clarkson because it might be the right spot. Now, there is a large portion of Clarkson where you will find the smaller detached homes built in the 1950s to the 1970s. They're smaller in size, quaint, charming little homes. And you'll find on these streets where these homes are located that they vary in styles, and for the families that are, smaller in size, this is a perfect spot if you want the Clarkson address. And you'll find here that, these are modest homes. So again, pricing will be a little bit less, but you'll be able to get into a nice detached home. Some of them have been updated, some of them need updating. So again, this is something that will be based on your budget. But again, that's one of the things about Clarkson, is that you have more variety and choice, right? Whereas in Lorne Park or in Mineola, it's going to be not as much, where you will have the ability to choose the streets with the type of home and for your budget. But in all three areas, or the three different areas that we talked about, you are going to find that you're going to have some higher price tags than something similar in a different neighborhood. And it's because of its proximity to each other, the three villages, and its proximity to the lake, and also the proximity to the GO stations. Of course, these are all things that make a difference in what you pay for and what makes the area exclusive. And so my question to you would be, do you have the budget to afford any one of these areas? Because if there is the budget and you like the idea of being in an exclusive community, and you want to check these out, you want to maybe look at these three different villages, maybe you want to go visit some of the homes, you want to see what it feels like driving through the streets, you've got to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. You can even send that pigeon carrier. However you want to get a hold of me, I've got your back when you're moving into the Greater Toronto Area, especially Mississauga.